gonna go insane, you're gonna be disgusted, you're gonna laugh away until your gut is busted. Yeah, better hold on to your brain, better grab your ribs. Dread-Libs.
Hello everyone and welcome to Dread-Libs. I'm Dev Solovey.
I'm Zach Ellenberger.
I'm Onyx Brightwing.
I am the Unholy corpse child, Thomas Stewart.
And this is a show where four horror writers turn silly ideas into thrilling tales of terror. So how's everybody's week going so far?
I'll tell you, my friends. I've struggled over the last 2 days of where I am. Let's just say I've not had a lot of my party tricks since the Eldritch mixer, and you know, when you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for a good time, I've been trading dimensions, and I've lost track of the last 2 days. And I'm not doing well. I'm not doing well.
Do you even know which dimension you're in right now, or are you that lost?
Man, last time I checked, I was in the upside down, and now I don't know.
Now things are right side up again.
I don't know which way is up.
You know, if you'll come to me, I've got a guidebook for that sort of thing.
I don't know if I can trust you. The smells of a trap.
I've traversed
light traps.
I've traversed the different dimensions. Thanks to the Dreamlands. Lovecraft wrote very many. He foretold of dimension traveling, such as that.
My faves.
Gotcha. How about you? How's your week going, Thomas? Corpse child.
Yes, well, I have just had to harness all of the dark energy here in the Underdark to try and birth the abomination that is known as To Hunt Wraiths. Available on Amazon and Godless.
Yeah, check out the link in the description. How about you, Onyx? What you up to this week?
I found a feather. Well, rather, my owner gave it to me. He tricked me, though. He gave me a bath this week. Also, there have been those loud, bangy things outside while I've been trying to sleep. So
cicadas?
Those things. No, what are they called? Fireworks? Yeah, cats don't like those. So it's been really hard to sleep. But other than that, it's been okay. I got a fish this week, so that was good.
Always a win.
Last time I set off a few fireworks, I upset a lot of halflings, and I was not welcome back.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Try it with the dwarves. Try it with the dwarves next time.
Yeah, hobbits are into fireworks, right? I don't know.
They like things that go boom.
Dragons would like fire.
Yeah.
If they didn't incinerate him first.
All you have to do is bring them treasure. They like treasure.
Where's he going to get treasure from? Was he going to pull that out of his ass? pull a bunch of doubloons out of his ass? He's going to be shitting doubloons.
I'm shitting doubloons.
Rich man doing
we all
that.
Float down here.
And we're filthy fucking rich.
Yeah. Speaking of incineration, I had a follow up on the HOA. You know, they were on my ass about that whole thing. Yeah. So we may have burned a couple of homes to the ground. Here's the thing. I wasn't the only one dealing with problems. My neighbors are a couple of vegans, and they wanted a garden in front of their home. HOA was on their ass about it too. So they called up a couple of their communist friends, and we burned some buildings to the ground and set up an autonomous zone. So now we're our own country. It's going great.
Oh man, that's for the collective. For the
collective, for the people, eat the rich, all that. So today, our subject, the thing we're going to be making a horror story about, is Christian moms. That is our subject today. And the twist is that they can't be the bad guys. This has to be a Christian propaganda film. So this film is assuming that Christianity is real, but it is also a horror film, and there are Christian moms involved.
Wait, is this film being directed by Estes Perkle?
Possibly. It's being directed by whatever Christian media channel. But yeah, so this, not that Christian horror doesn't exist. It apparently does. It's also apparently not that good, but that's what we're doing.
Christian metal. So what do you expect?
I'm sure it's similar. I'm sure it's similar to Sound of Freedom.
Go to Christian metal shows. Don't knock those.
No, I've been and worked a few of my own, so I know the flavor. But I'm gonna have to try and dig up some of my Catholic upbringing.
Like? What are the mosh pits like? Is it
there
like,
are not mosh pits.
Jesus.
There are giant screens with graphics that say "I love Jesus," and you all stand together.
You have to leave room in the mosh pit for Jesus.
Well, as in a Christian mosh pit, in the Christian mosh pit, as you're clashing up to one another, you'll bump into them, and as you do, the requirement is you say, "Peace be with you, brother." And then,
we weren't even allowed to do that when I used to go to teen camps, and they brought in the metal bands.
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you.
So, does anybody have? Because, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was raised more or less secular, so I actually know very little about Christianity. So, does anyone have maybe like a direction they want to go in with Christian movies? What do you think the threat would be, or do we want to build a cast first? Where do we want to start?
I think building like the conflict and casting might be a good starting point in my mind.
Okay. I would say we could start with like Revelations or some kind of rapture thing. I feel like that'd be too obvious, but also Christian media is very obvious about everything.
We are all sinners.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Rapture I think it carries a lot of significance and proximity. I think to.
Well, I mean, the Left
whatever
Behind
everyone's
series already did this. Left Behind series.
Never heard of
Not
it.
familiar with it. Not familiar
basically,
with
it was a very popular book series that became a very popular movie series. Basically, it's the rapture happens, and everybody that Jesus didn't take was left behind here on Earth. And
so maybe I think I've got something. Maybe the rapture is coming, and the person who's like seeing visions about it is like some Christian Facebook mom. And so she has to try and raise awareness about the coming rapture through all of her Live, Laugh, Love Facebook posts.
This is good.
See on Instagram every day, just on Instagram, bring out your dad.
Cookies for Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, so what comes to mind a little bit for me on that is I don't know if you guys are familiar with This Is the End from like a few years back.
Isn't that the one where it's like the actors
comedy.
are all playing themselves?
They're all playing versions of themselves, and like the end of the world is happening, and it's the rapture, and everyone who's God fearing and I don't want to say loyal, that's a bad word. Who's faithful. Religious, who is religious and faithful, get pulled into heaven, and everyone left on earth is experiencing the rapture. The rapture happened, and they're the ones that are left on earth. So, like, I'm thinking, like, we could go that route, or like you said, we do like the lead up to it. Like, this woman's having visions. A Christian Karen is having visions of the end of the world.
Her name is Karen.
Her name is Karen through no fault of her own and through no.
We can't make her a fucking villain. What the hell?
We should be happy with the fact that the woman is named Karen and also the main hero. That's like that's like a double win.
There are perfectly nice people named Karen. I don't think naming her Karen makes her a villain.
No, my next door neighbor was literally named Karen, and she was not nice. She was like the biggest Karen ever. So no.
Especially making her a radical Christian who sees fucking visions.
So what is she seeing? Like what does the rapture look like for her? Because like I've never read the Bible. I don't know what the rapture is. I just know that like they take the good people and the sinners that go to hell or something. That's all I know.
Yes. That's so from what I recall in my old studies of religions as a child was essentially there was a light that came down from heaven and pulled up all the people who were faithful, and everyone who wasn't got left behind to suffer all the worst worse myriads of hell that would happen
Right.
afterwards. So you know,
we have, like, here's the thing, like, if we're going to, there's got to be some kind of punishment for the people who are going to stay here on Earth, and that's going to be Karen's motivation for trying to get everybody to be faithful again. I mean, what's the shitty thing that's going to happen to them down here? Is there going to be zombies ripping them apart? Are they all going to rip each other apart? Like, what, you know, what's going to happen? What's the threat here?
Do the gates of hell just open up?
The Four Horsemen.
Yes, that's what I was thinking
Horsemen
too.
of the apocalypse. It's fireballs raining down on you. It's skeletons running around that weren't raptured up.
Pestilence, disease, famine.
All right, so I think then.
No, I was saying locusts, which are not actually just little bugs. They're actually
giant
really
bugs.
They're massive things. Yeah, we've got them out here in the Southwest. I think it's a good time for our first object. What do you guys think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, I think I figured out the screen share this time. So
nice.
let's see. Names allow. Can y'all see it?
Oh snap!
It's loading. Yes,
it's here.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and spin it.
What's that say?
Whoa! We have our motivation.
Okay,
we have our motivation.
Yeah, I feel like that's not even like. There's no debate on that. This is what caused the woman to see her visions. 50 kilos of coke.
She's baking cookies for church.
She's baking for cookies for church. She
sale.
bought some sugar from her neighbors. She thought it was sugar.
Yeah. No, there's some wild thing like she's next door to a coke dealer who's like real big in the game, and he gets these huge packages of cocaine, and she like goes to him one day like, "Oh, I came to borrow some sugar," and he's like, yeah, sure," like not paying attention. And
Wait, hold on. Would a Christian mom allow herself to be corrupted by cocaine? Maybe that's
but
the.
Not
maybe
if
that's
she
the
didn't
conflict.
know. She thought it was sugar.
Maybe that's
so
it.
He thought it was sugar
innocent,
too.
She doesn't know.
Yeah. So she's.
Innocent.
Yeah, so she has no idea she has this problem. She just thinks it's giving her visions, like prophetic visions, but in reality, it's just drugs. And her God-fearing family has to intervene.
And her next door neighbor is laughing his ass off because she's the type of person that comes over and cuts his trees without asking. He's tired of that shit happening to him all the time.
He's tired
of being able to get that she's going to make cocaine cookies.
He thinks, yes.
She makes cocaine cookies for the whole congregation. She convinces them she's a prophet. She starts a cult. And then, like, when the rapture really comes and the devil comes for her, and that's like the tragic ending, and she realizes, like, oh, I was the false prophet of Revelation. There's one of those, right? I think I heard about that when I watched Supernatural 10 years ago.
So
she looks for a Hallmark card, but she's not sure there really is one for that.
Right.
Like, oh, is there a Hallmark card for this occasion? I don't know.
She makes a bunch of Hallmark cards for the rapture.
Okay, so let's break this down real quick in that first arc in the story. She goes to her druggy neighbor and she's like, "Can I borrow some sugar?" wanting to make sugar cookies for the congregation.
Right.
He knowingly gives her a jar of his cocaine, thinking it would be really funny to see them all get drugged out on cocaine cookies, right? Yeah. So she goes, "Okay, thank you." Gives her this jar of cocaine. She thinks it's sugar. She bakes the cookies, and like leading up to the event, she's like putting spoonfuls of sugar in her coffee and starting to have these visions leading up to it. Okay. And then she's like, "Oh my God." She sees the Four Horsemen and she's asleep and like having nightmares about the Four Horsemen or whatever.
Yeah, and so when she brings these cookies to her congregation on Sunday, they all start tripping out, and she gets up. They do like testimonies in church where like people from the congregation get up and speak. Yeah, so maybe she does that, and she's just like, "All right, listen." She's all like tweaked out. She's like, "All right, listen." The rapture's coming, and then they all believe her.
Listen, you must listen to me. Twisted tail, 1,000 eyes.
So she starts a cult. Now that's so she uses the coke over time, right? Like she just keeps buying more from her neighbor, and he's like, "All right, lady, like chill out."
Yeah, he's starting to get worried about it.
Yeah, at some point she purchases 50 kilos of it because we have to use all 50 kilos.
All 50. Because she's like, you know what? My power, I am the vessel of God through my cookies, and the cookies give me power to persuade these followers to be ready for the rapture. And meanwhile, the druggy neighbor is starting to
the Holy Spirit.
Yes. The only way I can bestow the power of the Holy Spirit is through these cookies, which she unknowingly puts cocaine in.
Yeah,
And
she thinks she's hearing angels going, oh!
Yeah.
Every time she gets a cookie.
She sees the archangel Samael just standing in the distance, like a
climbing the ladder.
Yeah.
And she's seeing this vision of this angel, and the angel like, you gotta keep making the cookies, and she's like, yeah, and then she like stays up for 3 days straight.
You gotta make the cookies. You gotta keep baking the cookies, man. I'll suck your dick with the cookies, man.
The cookies will save the people.
Exactly. She thinks her baking is a gift from God and what leads her congregation to God. And meanwhile, the druggy neighbor is like watching this all unfold like, I don't know if I should have done this. This is kind of going out of control.
Now, we're having fun with this. We're having very much fun with this. But remember, this is a Christian propaganda film.
This is Christian propaganda.
Yeah, so I think the drug dealer can be either Satan or a metaphor for Satan. He's got to be, because it's like this temptation.
We can put a twist at the end where the druggie actually ends up turning to God, being like, I feel really bad now. God.
He turns to God, and God blesses him with a holy sword covered in fire, which he decapitates her with.
Sword of fire.
It's the smiting God.
I am cleansing my sins.
Oh, like end of days, like Schwarzenegger end of days style, just like dives onto a sword. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie.
Yeah, and this is if we want to say this is propaganda, I think it's actually pretty easy, because the cocaine cookies could be like a metaphor for idolatry or something, like worshiping an idol, and her being the word of God, like, you know, cult-like stuff is idolatry. So I think we have that's pretty much settled.
Well, if we add this to where, like, if we add in the ending where the druggie actually ends up turning to a god to try and put a stop to this, and he reforms, he actually reforms from his drug ways. He's like, by the end of this, he's a clean, solid citizen and a child of God.
Yeah,
that's good. Here is and that leads me to here's a twist I'm thinking of. Okay, what if the actual hero is the druggie by when she takes on this path of like a cult leader? She starts to kind of turn evil in this game for power, and the druggie kind of sees this happening and goes, I'm the one that kind of set her on this path. Like, I'm the only one that can stop her, and eventually takes on, like, becomes a very like believer in God, and ends up kind of like taking her place as this person who's a symbol of purity and faith in God.
Well, maybe that's it. Maybe
she's like a false prophet. Like, she leads people to understand like this event is coming. But
this is good, because then we could, like, maybe Karen isn't the protagonist. Maybe she's the antagonist, and the protagonist is this coke dealer who realizes the effect that his cocaine dealing, because he's making a lot of money from this at this point, right? So he's realizing the effect that his coke dealing has. He wants to change his ways. He goes to Addicts Anonymous for 3 days. Sees, comes to Jesus, and then
strips himself of his wealth. Like, he was it's sort of that that character arc of, like, he was a person who's been corrupted, who's lived upon his wealth for all of his life, and now he's kind of seeing the error of his ways and creating this false idol. And so now he wants to strip away all the things that have made him this evil person and set himself upon a path of good. And that puts him directly in conflict with Karen.
I'm gonna call out to like every Christian film director. You can 100% have this because we're gonna write a story that's better than whatever
You're fucking welcome. You're fucking welcome, Mel Gibson, Jim Caviezel. You can take that Sound of Freedom shit and move on. I got your Christian religion right here.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Just give us credit. Just give all of us credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Put us in the credits.
This is all of our movie right here. This is how a Christian religion does it.
Yeah. Let's.
It has to be called Coke for Christ.
Title of the episode. That's the title of the episode.
Coke for Christ is the title of the episode.
Coke for Christ.
Oh. All right, so I think we have this beginning. Shifting to maybe this drug dealer. What should we name him? Maybe Adam. I think that's a good name.
Ooh, it's religious.
It's
yeah.
religious.
So maybe his name is Adam. This is kind of calling back to the original sin. So he's a coke dealer. He's always kind of coked out.
Hold on. Let's call him Abel.
Oh,
yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Abel's good.
Yeah. So he's like dealing coke and he's rolling in money and he lives in like a rich neighborhood in Beverly Hills or whatever, or I don't know, some Mormon town. I don't know. But it's like a rich neighborhood. His neighbor Karen comes over and says, "Hey, I'm missing some sugar." And he's like, we're millionaires. How much would you be willing to pay me? And he gives her some coke instead as a joke. So then, the story, as we've discussed it, progresses. She gives them to their congregation. She comes back the next day. Oh my God, they love it. And she buys more. We intersperse it with scenes of her at the congregation starting this cult. So are we good on the story so far? Do we have any ideas where we want to go from here, or do we want another object? Or
well, first, I think an idea would be like, does the congregation actually, like, does the entire congregation actually submit to her, or are there a few that are kind of side-eyed and are like, huh? The fuck is this bitch talking about?
I think maybe we could have one or two who like see that it's wrong and they reach out to this drug dealer to be like, "Hey, you got to stop doing this. I can tell what you're doing and it sucks."
I feel that.
I feel that. Man. Look what you did now. This crazy bitch has the entire congregation just drugged out of their minds.
Yeah. So the congregation, everyone's kind of falling in line, but there's maybe one or like two dissenters who are kind of like going with the flow, but not like fully giving away their real feelings about it. And then
can we call them Michael and Gabriel?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I think
drug
also
dealers themselves though, and they're like, "You're taking our business, dude. What are you doing?"
I think having them just be dissenters would be good because like something I've noticed from Christian media is that it tends to be preachy at weird moments. So you could have like a scene where she's like leading the congregation in this clearly idolatrous manner, and then one of them stands up and gives a sermon about how this is idolatry and how can you be falling in line with this, So that's your opportunity.
Take him and throw him out.
That's what I was going to say. This could be their first.
He would get thrown out.
Yeah, this could be their first kind of step into like this world of kind of corruption where they finally have crossed that line to do a cult. It's like dissenter, send them out and cut their head off. Or
heretic,
and that's heretic.
Expiation,
expiation, and they look at, and then the two dissenters are kind of like, "Oh, dude, no fucking way! Like we can't. This is a bad.
They're a fucking hive mind. We're screwed."
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this is all very good Christian propaganda, but we are still us, and we got to put some brutality and weirdness in there.
Yes.
I think maybe instead of just throwing him out, they actually burn him at the stake.
That's what I'm thinking. Like straight to burning at the stake would be good, heretic style. They tie him to a pole right outside a freaking cross and let him up.
If you want to get like real old fashioned with it,
Old Testament style,
just simply burning them. She tries to out them as a witch.
Oh, yeah.
Like, torturing them for a confession. It's like
you take him, you dig a hole, up to his head. You pour honey on it and wait for the ants to get him. That's
staffing
style.
Gnarly.
Yes. Yeah,
Fun stuff.
they go Old Testament on his ass. Bury him up to his neck, dump him in honey, and let the ants do their business.
Excellent. Love that. All right. Very, very Old Testament. I think we're ready for another item. How about you guys? How you feeling?
Hell yeah.
All right. Let me pull this up again. All right. Spinning again.
Drum roll.
A mirror.
Oh.
A mirror.
We could do a number of things with this, I feel like.
A mirror.
Maybe in one of her coked out visions, Karen like sees her reflection, and the reflection starts talking to her like, you know,
classic.
You really, I think you're getting a little carried away with this, hon.
I like that, but I do also think we could go the other way, because there's, in the fundamentalist literature, there ought to be like some kind of stand-in for Satan, right? So maybe like that's Satan talking to her.
So the snake in the garden is
yeah, exactly.
Or the mirror could be the point where she finally kind of realizes she doesn't need the drugs for herself anymore and is starting to kind of follow whatever this mirror is telling her.
I was going to say,
so what if she's scrying?
What if maybe it happens both ways? Like this is sort of a fork in the road for her. Like there's part of her that's telling her humanity, the proverbial angel on her shoulder is trying to tell her, this isn't right. You've literally just murdered 2 people in this congregation because they tried to oppose you. Or maybe it could be a vision of God telling you, I have just sent my servants in the forms of these 2 men which you have now put to death.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. Very Christian. I like that. Yeah.
And then there's also the devil that kind of goads her, saying, you're doing the right thing, you know. Don't listen to that. That's the devil talking, because the devil is the only one that would tell you that what you're doing is wrong.
There's also that saying,
Go ahead.
There's the saying in the Bible about judge ye lest ye be judged.
Judge
Don't
not
cast the first stone. Maybe she
was
holds
thinking
the mirror to judge people.
Yeah, I think maybe we could kind of tie in the thing about the mirror with something we brought up earlier, where like she has a vision of an angel that's talking to her, the angel Samael. Maybe that's the thing that's like, no, you got to keep making these cookies. You got to keep using this special sugar. But her mirror is the Holy Spirit reaching out to her. It's Jesus reaching out to her, like, please look at what you're doing. Like, this is wrong. You've murdered these 2 guys, you know, in this horrible way, which, by the way, we have to figure out how to kill off the second one. But yeah, I think that could be like a good crossroads for her. But where's our main guy at? What do we call him again? Abel. Where's Abel at now?
He's still in rehab.
I mean, he still has to be selling her the cocaine at this point. Like, we haven't reached the 3rd act transition just yet. So he's got to be like making bank or something. Maybe he's like spending it on worldly pleasures or something like that. I mean, if we want to get
he's doing. I mean, what do drug dealers do other than just do drugs? Party, live it up, buying fancy cars, going to clubs, strip clubs. Throwing dollar bills and change at women on poles.
Fancy parties with lots of
change
liquor.
would hurt. No,
street racing in a Lamborghini. Some of that.
So Abel is just living it up right now.
Right.
And he's not. And so I feel like it'll take these guys a couple of times to go
what
to
if
him.
We have another mirror phenomenon with Abel?
That's another thing. I'm wondering if this mirror should have some kind of like magical, mythical properties where like it might be leading her to like follow this dark path of like becoming this cult leader, or if it's just like, oh God, what's the fairy tale with the mirror that tells you like what you want, or what it's like telling you what you want to hear.
We had sort of worked out earlier that like maybe the mirror was what Jesus was using to show her the error of her ways.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
For her, it didn't get through to her because she immediately canceled it out with the devil on the shoulder. So maybe instead he's like, well, okay, I couldn't get through to this bitch directly. Let me try this guy.
Or she like throws out the mirror because she's like, this thing is like talking bullshit, and he finds
some bad luck.
That's bad. That's her mistake because she doesn't believe in bad luck. She only believes in God. There is no bad luck under God as long as you believe. And she puts the mirror out to the trash or whatever, and he happens to see the mirror like, this is like a perfect Coke mirror. And he takes it in and he starts doing Coke off it, and then happens to look in the mirror at one point and sees Jesus staring back at him. And Jesus is like, psst. And he's like, ah! And freaks out.
Audience, comment below how much you would freak out if you saw Jesus in your mirror.
Listen, for all you audience members, I don't know how many of you audience members have done Coke before, but let's just imagine you got a rail going right across the mirror, and in that mirror is another face that's not yours, it's Jesus, and he's staring right back at you, maybe not fully judging, but he's got that look in his eye. How quickly would you
run to church and talk to a priest? How quickly would you come to Jesus?
That's all I'm saying.
Or would you just stop doing Coke like right then? Would that be enough that you just be like, fuck, I'm done?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or would you try and say, yo, you want some of this shit, man?
that you would expect him. That should be what happens. So you would expect him to be like, oh, like freak out and like run away, but he's just like, you want some too? You next? Like not realizing it's actually just a reflection. He like thinks it's behind him. And he's like, what the fuck?
Comment below if you would do Coke with Jesus.
Anyway. What would be a really good band name? Coke with Jesus.
Coke with Jesus.
That would be a really good band name.
Never mind. That is that is the title of this episode. I forget what the other one was.
That should be on a t-shirt. That should be on a t-shirt, like death metal lettering too.
If we ever do merch, that's where we'll start.
Coke.
So I think there has to be a turn for Abel as well as for Karen, right? We've established with Karen, it's the mirror. We could have some parallelism. He does Coke off this mirror. Maybe at first, like, gosh, I don't know. Because that has to be a turning point for him. What kind of conversation does he have with Jesus at that point? Like, what does Jesus say to him that converts him?
It's like, do you really feel good at doing this shit, man? Like, is this really, like, does this really feel good for you?
Maybe it goes one step further, because a mirror, you talk about like a looking glass. Maybe it's not just Jesus saying, hey, do you really feel good about yourself doing this? Maybe he shows like the Coke dealer a vision of what this congregation is doing, and maybe they're doing some really fucked up shit, like maybe they're eating each other or something. Like,
right? Why would he care? He's making money off.
That's his Coke.
In the Bible, he gets killed by his brother. Cain kills Abel, so maybe he makes a deal with him and is like, dude, you're gonna die. You're gonna get killed by your brother.
Yeah, wait. Okay. I've got it. So we had two dissenters, right? One of them we just killed. The other one we haven't done anything yet. What if Gabriel, the second dissenter, is Abel's brother? Or maybe his name is... Yeah.
And so kind of... Yes.
Yeah. So one of them
have a personal connection.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. So then at first he like doesn't care, and maybe he's having conflict with his brother about this because his brother is saying, like, look at what you're doing to these people.
They've had some history. I don't care,
I got a Lambo, I got Coke, I got all this, and then finally he sees like maybe his brother goes missing at this point, and then he sees like a vision in the mirror of what's been done to him, which is just something brutal and horrific.
Just being tortured like straight fucking...
Yeah, Iron Maiden
Scientologist style or some shit.
Yeah.
Sorry to any Scientologist listeners. I wasn't serious.
Yeah. Please don't sue us.
Yeah. Please don't come after us. I was only kidding.
This does not reflect our own opinions.
Everything you hear on here is a work of fiction.
What do you got?
I'm feeling so okay. They have him and his brother had some history. They, when they were young, they were the best of friends. They took two different paths. He found God. He found Coke. Two different seas, Christ and Coke in two different directions. And, maybe, they lost their parents in like a bad accident. And when that happened, they kind of just went estranged, no longer close.
Wait, I've got it. So I just, for some reason, I have it in my head that this is taking place in California, but like maybe they were on the streets for a while, and Abel was taking care of his brother by selling drugs, and that was like paying their bills. And Gabriel didn't like it because it was bringing all this danger to them. But like Abel was like you still like, I'm providing for you. Why aren't you grateful? And so that's why they're like estranged, is because of that.
Abel had to do evil shit to protect his brother, and because of that, he was able to find a path to Christ. But Abel was still corrupt and suffering in this life that he built for himself.
Well, because the reason he even turned to drugs in the first place wasn't just to try and provide for Abel. That was just like a happy side effect, but really it was mainly because he was trying to cope with the parents' death.
Yeah, it was a crutch.
Yeah, and it's like he's in denial about it too. He could be justifying it to himself, like, I did this for Gabriel's good, I did it for his good, but really
that's how he justifies
it. Was his original sin.
That's how he justifies it.
Yeah. Okay, this is some good character development.
This is deep. This is deep.
Christian people, you can have this. I'm serious.
We're coming for you guys. This is for you.
I will be an extra in this film for free. I just need to see what happens on set. Anyway, I think it's about time for another item. What are you guys thinking?
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap this one with our last and our final one. Oh, God, I hope it's not difficult.
I hope it's the hardest you could get.
I shouldn't have spoken.
This is like the flagship. This is the flagship object of this whole podcast. This is what we started with as like our first object. Yeah. The rubber.
I think I've got it. Sorry, guys. I've got it though. Because
we got to do this.
I may not know a lot about Christianity other than what I've seen in other media. I did watch like a 3-hour-long special about a Coke dealer who found out how to bring Coke into the UK by infusing it into plastic. Rubber chickens with Coke in them. Is this anything?
It's Coke for life, damn. My Cokes for cocks.
Coke-filled rubber chickens.
I thought maybe they could change the rubber chickens into real chickens and feed everyone. Like,
Oh yeah.
God took the one fish and fed many people.
You can make like a bad red herring for like someone had made a deal with a rubber chicken and put drugs inside a rubber chicken, but later on it comes back like there's this like truck full of rubber chickens that was like, I don't know, they had stopped and were like, oh, we like the power of Jesus, and she like turns an entire truck of rubber chickens into real live chickens because for some reason they're starving. Yeah,
like maybe that's how he's giving her the Coke, is he's saying like, I'm storing it in these rubber chickens, don't ask why. and and she's just like, all right, cool. And so she puts like 50 kilos of Coke inside of rubber chickens, and then at the end she uses like her satanic witchcraft magic to turn them all into real chickens or something for purposes we haven't figured out yet.
So like, well, okay, maybe like his whole drug empire was built on like moving his drugs within a rubber chicken for whatever it should not even be explained. It should not even be explained.
Bro, maybe his main clientele were comedians, because most of the best work is done when they're drugged out of their fucking
Comedians
John
like
Mulaney cameo. John Mulaney cameo. No, that'd be terrible.
Shit. Somehow he was linked to a rubber chicken in his drug deals, whether it was he was distributing it through rubber chickens, or that he had a specific client that would come to him a specific client who was a comedian, a bad comedian, and would come to him for cocaine and left him like this rubber chicken, like, here, I'm short like $5, but I have this rubber chicken. Here's this rubber chicken.
I think we could make it.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
I think we could make it a kind of a MacGuffin too, because if Karen gets her powers from cocaine, then she's used up all 50 kilos, and she needs one last bump to like bring about the end times or whatever. And so he's hiding his last bit of coke inside this rubber chicken because she thinks that's not where he's gonna look, but she can use like her satanic magic to sniff it out or something. This is where it's just like a creature, like some like cocaine hunting monster. Yeah, so it's like that's the last. That's some sort of like plot MacGuffin. That's his last bit of cocaine, and he has to hide it from her. He has to get rid of it somehow so that she doesn't get it and she doesn't end up breaking the seventh seal.
What if somehow Jesus comes to life through the rubber chicken, like from the mirror to the rubber chicken, and Jesus is somehow embodied, and this rubber chicken is alive and like moving around.
I need you to understand the mental image that gave me of like a rubber chicken speaking with Jesus's voice. Like, come to me, my child.
Yeah. Come to me.
Squeak.
I'm thinking like literal claymation movements of the chicken, just like it's Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. And it's
or like those old.
It has to be the chicken dance music in the background. It has to be.
Of course, yeah.
Because she's
but
been
it's
on
still
coke,
Jesus.
so it has to be messed up.
Take my body.
All right, so we have. I think we have kind of the last of it where we
need final confrontation. So
we do.
Jesus Christ, this stupid thing.
We had talked about a sword with flames. Maybe after being the MacGuffin for so long, the rubber chicken, once Abel comes to the realization that he has to slay Karen for like holy righteousness reasons or whatever, there's like a bolt of lightning and the rubber chicken full of coke becomes a big sword.
The sword comes out of that chicken's mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yes. Somehow, yeah. The chicken is like what gives him the weapon that will destroy her or whatever. And,
right.
Angel Gabriel's blade or St. Michael's blade or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Michael's blade. Okay. Archangel. Yeah. And then we get just like a big anime battle and then.
Yes. Armed with the power of cocaine.
Yeah. Jesus no jutsu. Is that the title of the episode? Is that anything?
No, but that's a new catchphrase. Jesus no jutsu. That's Lifeway's.
If you've gotten this far in the video, comment Jesus no jutsu. All right, so anime battle. He chops off her head, and then like a bunch of evil spirits fly out, and I don't know. She's finally unpossessed.
Bleeding cocaine. And then the other the other parishioners just go, the fuck? She was just hopped up on coke this entire time.
Yeah. So maybe it's just like a bunch of like. There's just like her head gets chopped off, a bunch of spirits fly out, her body disintegrates into cocaine and floods out of the church doors, and then all the evil spirits fly away and the day is saved, and then somebody turns to the camera and says it's all thanks to the power of Christ. And I think that's our story. Did we figure it out?
I think that's a pretty solid swing around.
Then they sit down and they have the Last Supper together with chicken.
All the chickens. Gotcha. All right. I love it.
Oh, I know. Oh, jeez.
I think we have it. So if we want to put together a log line, and we can wrap this story. What's our log line for this story?
A former drug dealer realizes the error of his ways when a God-fearing woman ends up going psycho because of him.
Yeah. When Abel, a drug dealer, sells some coke to his Christian neighbor and tells her that it's sugar, but it leads to things spiraling out and causing catastrophe. And now he has to come to Christ and change his ways. Something like that. Anybody else got a log line?
What is the stronger influence, the power of drugs or the power of faith?
That's good. All right. There we go. There's our log line. We did it.
And you should add, and what does the rubber chicken have to do with this?
Yes.
There we go. All right. Well, as always, we would like to thank Todd Zach for providing the intro music. You can find information about his music and band below. And we'd like to thank Unveiling Nighmares Press for hosting our show. There's a link in the description where you can find their catalog of books, including works of your 4 hosts. Do any of y'all have any pluggables, any projects you're working on that you want to promote?
Yes. As I said, my very first full-length horror novel, To Hunt Wraiths, is now available on Amazon and Godless. Please check those out. Of course, for cheaper ebooks than you'll find on Amazon and signed paperbacks, you can go to www.corpsechildsanctuary.com/shop and purchase them directly from me. And you can, of course, find me on Facebook at my name, Thomas Stewart, or my Corpse Child Sanctuary Facebook page. You can find me on Instagram at CorpseChild2001. And you can find me on TikTok and Slasher at Unholy Corpse Child. Unholy Corpse Child.
Awesome. To Hunt Wraiths, link in the description. Who else got plugs?
You can find the link to all my work available at my website, zachallenberger.weebly.com. You can also check me out on TikTok at Zach4Prez911. That's ZAK, the number 4 at PREZ911, as well as Instagram at Words of the Burgermeister.
I'm really Nora Peavy, so you can find all my work on my blog press. It's She Writes Fast at wordpress.com, or you can usually find me on Facebook as Onyx Brightwing. Those are the 2 best places to get a hold of me.
All right. And as always, the links to all of my socials and my prior work is in my link tree. My my debut novella, Fever Dreams, is coming out on August 2nd. Please check it out on Godless or on Amazon. You can also find links to my webcomic, Devil Went Down to Vegas, as well as, all of the other projects that I do in my link tree. And of course, if you have any suggestions for topics, place them in the comments. The weirder, the better, because remember, if you give us your fears, we'll give you a story.
Gonna go insane, you're gonna be disgusted.